Hello and welcome to Working Lunch, the SLO Chamber's weekly series where we bring the community leaders who are doing exciting things in our community and share that with you. I'm Jim D'Antona, President and CEO of the SLO Chamber, and today we'll be having a conversation with Wendy Lewis, President and CEO of the El Camino Homeless Organization, often referred to as ECHO. Before joining ECHO in 2018, Wendy worked at the Food Bank Coalition and was instrumental in increasing access to nutritious food to people facing hunger in SLO County. During her 10-year tenure, Wendy held many positions, including Chief Operations Officer, and led acquisition of land and building of their new 20,000 square foot headquarters. In her current role, Wendy has leveraged her experience and expertise to expand ECHO's reach and programs and fulfill their mission to empower people in SLO County to make positive change by providing food, shelter, and supportive services. Some of the recent initiatives that Wendy has led have been particularly, and that I've been particularly impressed by, include growing ECHO from 50 beds at one facility to 140 beds at 3 facilities, increasing staff from 6 to 20 professionals, and adding 10 community programs such as mental health support, financial literacy, and job placement. I'm so looking forward to learning more about their work, some hopeful outlooks, and what led to her current role. Wendy, thank you so much for being here today.
I am so excited, Jim. Thanks for having me. It's such a great platform to be able to share about our work and connect with the chamber members.
Fabulous to have you. And as we sit down to lunch here, where are you zooming in from?
I'm zooming in from Atascadero, from our original location, kind of our flagship that kicked off over these 20 years of our work in the community.
That's awesome. And it's obviously, well, it's not Dodger Stadium, but there seems to be a Let's Go Dodgers back there. So for 50% of this community, you just made a ton of friends.
Yeah, hopefully I didn't offend, everybody, but yeah, it's kind of known for Dodger love. And it's funny, almost every nonprofit I've worked at recently, blue has been the color, and they say I brought that to it, and it was there before I came in. So yeah, I didn't change our colors, but definitely rocking Dodger blue.
Well, the good news is at least the Dodgers aren't playing the Giants this weekend. Oh, wait.
Yeah, and I think we already won one of the 4 games, so we'll see what happens.
That's fabulous. Well, love the love for baseball. That's terrific. But before we kind of get started and start moving down the path to ECHO, I'd love to know more about your journey to your current position. Did 8-year-old Wendy think you wanted to be a CEO of a nonprofit when you grew up? What was that like?
I think 8-year-old Wendy wanted to actually be a teacher, and I moved up to go to Cal Poly, and just it didn't end up going in the teaching realm. And I actually was in sales for many years, and while my kids were little, and I could work around the schedule and be there for them. And then I just got tired of selling and just for a profit. So I wanted to take that energy and actually bring my sales experience and sell a really great cause. And that's when I transitioned to the food bank. And then I just continued that. Once I got into nonprofits, it's addictive, being able to have your work really impact lives. It's the most special thing that I just love it.
That's fabulous to hear. Was there a particular event or influence that led you to do the work you're doing today?
I think it was just kind of one of those moments in life where you go, gosh, there's a lot of need in the community, and can I take my skills and can I really be part of making a positive change in my own community? It wasn't, it was just kind of that like moment you feel and you're like, I'm going to explore something different. And I'm so excited. It's been about 14 years I've been in the nonprofit world, and just so grateful to have been part of people's journey, even at the food bank, working on food insecurity. And then here at ECHO, I cannot tell you how special it is to be part of someone's journey as they get back into housing. That moment that, someone comes and says, oh my gosh, I just signed my lease, or my children and family are now going to have a place. I mean, that just makes, it makes it all worth it.
Was ECHO a partner of the SLO County Food Bank? Were they someone who were doing some of that food distribution?
Yeah, it's actually ECHO is about a minute away from my house. So in some of my roles at the food bank, I actually would do the agency partner check-ins here at ECHO. And it's amazing to see what it was, that was, 7, 8, 9, 10 years ago to what we are now. It's been really exciting to see. But I love how through that collaboration and through such great nonprofits in our county, we are able to bring the right resources. And the food bank is just an amazing partner, and we get a lot done through collaboration, and that's just one of those great partnerships.
It's so great, and again, two great partners I know from the SLO Food Bank to ECHO. You guys are doing amazing work. But before we dive into the specifics of your work, maybe you could share a little information and maybe set the stage of the situation people experiencing homeless face in North County today.
ECHO's been around 20 years, and the face of who we served 20 years ago is quite different than who we serve now. It was more the chronic male back then, and now it's men, women, and children, seniors. And in North County in particular, it's tough. I mean, if you are unhoused and you are heading into summer, and there's going to be days that it's 115, you have no place to get just the safety of being in an air conditioning. And in the winter, it is really cold. Some nights we get into the 15s, the 20s. And so, that just imagining not being able to be in a safe, warm place, it's really challenging. There's some lack of resources in North County. So that's part of some of our growth and what we've been working on. But, the face of who you might imagine, it's different. And it's a tough road for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely heard the stories of, our senior population growing more and more into that homeless as, either living longer, not having enough resource, keep up with the housing costs, all those things that go into it. So I'm sure it's very different from where we were 20 years ago.
That's one of the population that's really is dramatically growing, and there just isn't enough resources. So as a community, we need to really look at that changing face of homelessness and that aging population.
Well, we have a number of nonprofit and government agencies that serve unhoused people in SLO County. Where does ECHO and the work you do fit into that ecosystem?
Again, collaboration gets things done, and we have a great partnership with our friends at SLO and 40 Prado and 5 Cities Homeless Coalition. We really look at the county and kind of what we can bring to our regions and what resources and things that we might specialize in, and really try to look at that collaboratively. So we're not duplicating services. We're being really efficient with the funding that's coming in through the government streams into our county. And so we actually jointly write many grants together. So that way we are able to really look at the big picture and then bring those resources to our region, depending on someone's needs. We work together. We have a lot of specialize in a lot of family programming. And so a lot of times if there's someone who has children, they're connected to us. And we just really work closely to make sure we're all able to serve the community that needs us.
Well, in the intro, I mentioned, just a few of the programs that ECHO provides. I'm sure they're like your children. You don't have a favorite, but are there one or two programs that you're particularly proud of?
Gosh, that's that. Yeah, pick your favorite child for sure. So, I really, because we really strive to provide the support to everybody, but especially families with children, children who are facing homelessness, there's that trauma that's experienced. So we really try to provide anything we can to prevent that trauma while they're with us and get them back into housing. So we have things like a reading program where volunteers from the community come and sit next to our garden, throw a blanket down in the good weather, and they really interact with the children. That's a partnership with the Community Foundation and the Raising the Reader program. And it's amazing to see how the kids just light up, but then parents who might not have had a lot of experience on how to read to your children and interact, they get to see that and gain that knowledge. So that's one. The children's art program, I mean, the art they create is amazing. But yeah, I could keep going on and on. We really, really provide a lot of programming and resources for everybody we serve.
Yeah, well, and I know from seeing the work you do that there are amazing programs, but those are pretty special. And certainly, you know, childhood is hard enough without, you know, facing being unhoused. So I appreciate that, all that great work you're doing to try and support the children and who face this. Maybe talking about that a little bit, what are some of the biggest misunderstandings about the work you do, you know, maybe from the general public?
Yeah, you know, when I first got into homeless services, it was hard in some ways because you would hear conversations or hear things from people from a place where a lack of understanding or knowledge base, and you know, the generalization of the population, things like, you know, people are choosing this life, they're choosing not to work, and it's their own fault. And when you really dive into homelessness, there's so many different layers of why people become unhoused, what resources they need to get back into housing. So it was really that dehumanization that was really tough. But we're really trying to get out there and show people that these are your neighbors. Many folks are from SLO County that we see. It isn't this wave of people moving in. The last point in time count, 74% of the people counted in our county as unhoused were born and raised here. So these are your neighbors. These are someone you went to school with or a child of, you know, your kids. So it really is, as a community, something we need to look at and take care of and provide the right tools to get them back into housing.
Well, I love that data point there, to be able to, again, I know the point in time count is just a small sample, but, you know, hearing that those are people from our community, it's not this idea that the Central Valley is busing them over to us. They're folks from our community. And I appreciate that, being able to share that message, because I think that's an important piece, because, you know, you were extremely successful in working with the community to help house more people over the past year. Were there any key strategies for overcoming that opposition and creating understanding with that, or other projects?
Yeah, so our biggest, you talked a little bit about our growth over the past year and the facilities we have. One of the facilities we actually took on an emergency winter shelter. So that is one of the three. And then we had an incredible collaboration with People Self-Help Housing and HASLO to really utilize home key funding that was coming through the state, really a gift of potential, almost, I don't want to say instant, but it felt like instant housing and shelters. And that was to purchase motels or existing buildings and convert over to supportive housing and shelters. So this project has been incredible and really making an impact in our community and especially in Paso Robles.
Well, and we had your director, Jeff, on with our Good Morning SLO yesterday, and he was telling us about how fast that turnaround happened on the Motel 6 in Paso. In trying to do that, were there big barriers there that you had to work and maybe break down some of these misunderstandings in order to get it open?
Yeah, well, the speed of it was definitely a barrier. It was when the county contacted ECHO originally to say, hey, we're hearing about this funding. We're hearing that potentially Motel 6 in Paso Robles is going to sell. Is it something ECHO can look at? And as an organization that's been around 20 years, we want to make sure we do things the right way. And so I drove through that project and I realized the scope of the hotel, 122 rooms. I said, we can't do this alone, and reached out to our friends at People Self-Help Housing. And, you know, none of us needed more work to do, but it was the right thing to do. It was such a potential gift. And then as we determined, oh, we're going to need another partner, you know, reached out to our partners at HASLO, and same thing. I mean, they were like, oh, we don't need more work, but we need housing. And, you know, we got convinced boards before even board meetings, and, you know, it's just incredible. So we've been up and running about 6 months, and the amount of impact it's having and people getting services and getting housed, it's just an incredible project.
Well, that's an incredible partnership. You talk about collaboration. Once again, here we are with like People's Self-Help Housing, HASLO, the Housing Authority of SLO. Can you give us just a couple quick stats on that facility, on how many you're doing there and they're utilizing?
Yeah, so we have 42 rooms that are used for emergency sheltering, and they have 60 plus units of low-income supportive housing. And so we're able to really provide that really first step into someone connecting and getting resources. Keep in mind, Paso Robles didn't have any homeless services until this project came in. They had a wonderful meal program that was offered, but past that, there really wasn't anything. So no connecting people to mental health support, behavioral health, case management, none of that really was happening. So we're bringing in that piece and really getting people that first step. Here's the safety, here's a place to be. Now let's have conversations about what you need, what we can help with, and let's get you housed. And on the permanent housing side, they have, that permanent home. And so how it's working is people come into our program, we get them kind of ready for what we do, then we get them ready for long-term housing. And we've already, in 6 months, 20 people through our work have been housed in the community. So the impact it's having, it's just one of the big impacts is really getting people housed.
And as you said, this is about 120 room facility. So, and obviously from the chamber side, we're incredibly supportive of that kind of housing first approach to addressing homelessness, make sure we have some base for them to build on. Is there that kind of unique opportunity that comes with this shelter to be able to transition folks right away into that? Or is that, are those services coming up in Paso because of this project?
Well, actually the home key funding, which was state funding that was set aside to really create housing fast with the housing first model. So the funding really says, this is the model that's working throughout our state. Are you going to commit to do this and want to do it right? And we, in our services, saw that as a lack in our community of that housing first for the shelter piece, especially in North County. And it really is getting someone that first access. First time they might have taken a warm shower for a long time. First time someone has just actually had a conversation in an empowerment way, and we care about you. We know living on the streets is not easy. Let's find solutions. So really it's meeting them where they're at. They, might be struggling with behavioral health, drug and alcohol. They might be struggling with mental health, and we give them that first place to start getting access to those services.
I agree. That's amazing, because to have the theory that somehow you could deal with your behavioral health or substance issues in an unhoused perspective would be almost impossible for anybody, let alone someone that's experienced it for a long time. So I'm so glad to hear that that's kind of a way we're driving to that, because I think you're building the basis for kind of real success long term. As you said, you're already getting folks into real housing. But we were looking at the governor's, recently announced budget. He talked about $12 billion, of which was like about $8 billion for kind of new housing projects. So are more projects like this one on the horizon for SLO County?
Well, with the last point in time count, there was about 1,500 people who were counted that were unhoused in our county. Those of us in homeless services kind of say, for every one you counted, there's probably two. So imagine there's about 3,000 people. That was in 2019. So are there needs for more of these projects? Yes. Between us and the other shelters in our county, we probably have about 400 shelter beds, including the domestic violence houses. And so there's that gap. That's a gap of about 900. Housing is needed. Housing quickly is needed, and that wraparound services to go with them and support them when they are housed.
Well, and thinking about some of those dollars that the governor's committing to, and thinking about how you brought your staff up to deal with a home key and really meet the challenge. How how do you balance the temptation to take in those monies right now? Because these seem like one-time funds. They're not ones that are going to fund ongoing programs. Is that right?
Yeah, you kind of called out one of the challenges, probably the biggest challenges. The original gift, it was about a $15 million grant for the project to purchase the building, to bring in programming, but the grant only lasts for about a year and a half. So we as an organization have to look at sustainability and how do we keep this programming happening. And so that's, to convince your board to say, hey, we're just going to take on another shelter, probably double or triple our budget, and we'll figure out how to sustain it. Our board was, just incredible people who trusted our organization, knew we could do it, knew the community would step up when we said, okay, now we need the community support to really keep this going. But it's a leap of faith. And so with this new funding coming, are there going to be more leaps of faith? We'll have to see how that all plays out, but it is so critically needed.
Well, I would assume, and my theory would be that at some point, with success stories and being able to show this, that government funding these issues and really supporting more of these programs might help bridge that leap of faith that you guys have made.
And I use a baseball analogy, of course. I say, if you build it, the funding will come if you're doing the right work and making impact and changing lives. So yeah, if you build it, those great people in the community that want to help someone get back into housing, they'll come. We're very faithful for that.
That's terrific. Well, kind of looking to the future, what are some of the things you are hopeful for besides more funding that will have sustained your leap of faith?
Definitely, that's probably the top priority. Also, just I'm hopeful for the community to be open to more education, be open to know that these are really members of our community that need the support. Just hopeful to see more journeys of people, and sometimes homelessness feels hopeless, and I just want to share there's hope. There's these stories that we talk about numbers, but every number is a family or a human that really we need to celebrate their success because they've done the work. There's hope in this work.
Well, that actually is interesting. So in trying to build that hope and trying to work to, build the knowledge in the community, I'm sure you have some personal success stories that help fuel some of that optimism. Is there one in particular you'd be open to sharing?
Yeah, so I think one of the ones that stands out with me the most, and we always ask for permission to share someone's story, and the people we serve are always so willing, because they know if we can share, people can be successful, that helps us. And so there's this wonderful young lady named Bethany, and her two sweet children came to us first pretty early on when I got here to ECHO, and she just was ready. She admits, that there was some bumps in her life, and she needed to make some major changes. And for her children, she just told us, hey, I'm ready to do whatever I need to do. So we were able to connect her to some support systems to help her with some changes that she needed to make. We were able to help the kids get into a preschool so Bethany could work. And then through just hard work, financial savings, financial literacy, she was housed right before Christmas a few years ago. And I actually got to be there. I usually am not in those moments, but we were highlighting it through a different media channel. And I got to be there when, her daughter opened the door and grabbed my hand and said, "You got to see my room," and ran me into her room. And so, I check in, Bethany and her children are doing well. The kids are thriving. Her personal growth is just amazing to see. And now this family has the security they need. And those children now have the kind of that base, that home point to now their lives. What happens from here, it's amazing. And just, one of the great of many, many journeys. I mean, we've helped hundreds of people housed in my time here, and so many more before that.
It's a beautiful story, and I get just listening to you tell it. how much fulfillment you get for all the hard work you do every day and your team does every day to do this. Those success stories must just really help you go on to the next challenge. So that's so amazing. Looking at, people who want to get involved, do you have any recommendations for people who want to get involved and make a difference for people experiencing homelessness in our community?
We really couldn't do our work without the community volunteerism. We have about 500 volunteer slots we fill at both locations each month in order to do our work. And so volunteering, I can tell you, you'll get way more out of it than you're actually, you're giving a service, but what you learn and what you get to see is so impactful. So volunteering is a huge way to get involved. Advocating for the people we serve and people in our community that are unhoused, helping through financial donations if you have the means to do so. That really helps us look at sustainability and really bring in that extra layer of programming and empowerment, and just really being aware and kind of recognizing that the unhoused are people. If that's somebody, it's easy to kind of go, I'm just going to kind of put them into a group and hopefully not have to really look, but really look. They're humans, and there are people that need to be visible. We had a gentleman who shared with one of our outreach workers that until he came to ECHO, he didn't feel visible. And we don't want people in our community to feel that way.
I'm sure it's, incredibly important in someone's life to feel that. And if you're going to make change or you want to do something else, to feel that. So appreciative of the amazing work, again, your team's doing. I do want to make sure people can learn more about ECHO. Where should they go to find out more and potentially support the organization?
They can follow us on Facebook and Instagram. We tell a lot of those stories and share there. And then they can definitely visit echoshelter.org. That's our website that has all kinds of information on our services, if you need them, how to volunteer, how to donate, and so much more.
Fabulous. Well, we'll also throw it link down in our the Facebook chat there. So if anybody wants to click over, you can do that. And now to end our program like we do every week, what are you looking forward to this weekend?
Well, I'm afraid I'm going to offend half of the audience again. I'm looking forward to another sweep of the Giants. I think we did that last week, and plus I'm looking for the Padres to lose. I mean, come on, Padres, let's lose a few. So just a baseball weekend, Memorial Day, great weather. Just thankful for where we live, of course, too.
Yeah, it'll be gorgeous, and I'll help on the other side since I live with my wife is a Dodger fan. My mother-in-law is watching today, Dodger fans. Let's go Giants. Let's get this.
Oh gosh, yeah. No, I'm gonna get Betsy to get you for that one. She bleeds blue just like me. So yeah, we'll see how it goes.
Yep, it's not a good place to be right now for me in my house. Wendy, thank you so much for spending the time with us and talking with us about this incredibly important issue. And thank you to your entire team for the work you're doing. It's incredibly important and so important right now as we try and get people through these really difficult times of the pandemic, let alone the homelessness piece that is going through it.
I really appreciate this opportunity, and our team is amazing. I mean, Team ECHO is just incredible, and they have, we say we're a business with a giant heart.
Fabulous. Well, as always, if you have questions for our guests, feel free to add them into the Facebook comments below, and Wendy or the ECHO team will hop on and try to answer them when they get a moment. We thank you all so much for tuning in. We invite you to join us next week, where we'll be talking to Mark Lisa, the CEO of Twin Cities Community Hospital in Templeton and Sierra Vista Regional Medical Center in San Luis Obispo. Thanks for tuning in. We hope you have a wonderful weekend. Stay healthy and safe out there.